Namaste.
Namaste.
I have with me today Asmita Bijlani, a young psychologist who did her MA in psychology from Jamia. And after that, she has done a 1 year course on expressive art therapy at Xavier's College in Mumbai. Art therapy is a very trendy topic, and I thought I'll ask her a few questions about it. Uh, Asmita, uh, you had already done an MA in psychology, and then you went and spent 1 more year doing a course on expressive arts therapy. Do you think doing this course has added some new dimension to what you already knew, or what something which you could bring into your own life, something that you could bring into your practice while dealing with the clients having mental health issues?
Mhm.
Would you like to say tell some of these things?
Sure. My initial motivation behind seeking a course in expressive arts therapy and my attraction towards art therapy started when I started to look for venues within psychology where I could unite my passion as well as the professional aspects of psychology. So, from a young age, I had an inclination towards arts, music in particular, and it was music therapy that I was initially interested in the most before I went towards expressive arts therapy. And that is what led me on this journey of searching for courses which bring in the uh, right kind of training and uh, the background that is required for a person to step into therapy spaces. Uh, During the last 1 year, uh, while I was a student at Xavier's, I saw a new face of psychology, so as to say, how something like art can reach to different people, different populations, and on the level of self as well, how art, be it any modality, be it music, visual art, dance, or drama, how it taps into one's mind, body, and soul, how it connects the three, and how it operates not only on a psychological level, but also on a physical, sensorial level. Uh, all our facilities, our cognition, our physical uh, capacities, uh, our emotions, how they all come together when we are expressing using art.
I find that very interesting. Art achieving an integration of the mind, body, and the soul. Sri Aurobindo has said something very interesting on particularly Indian art. That in Indian art, the art that the artist creates actually reflects something within the artist.
Mhm.
And it is that what is going on in the artist's mind, which in turn is a reflection of the soul, which gets expressed in the art. So art is only an outer expression of something deep within, of the deepest self. And certainly, I mean, the body is being used for creating that piece of art, so the body is also in sync with the mind and the soul. And you said something else uh, which you could perhaps dilate upon. You said that you came across a new face of psychology, which means something radically different, something very new, which you were not at all aware of while doing your MA in psychology. So, would you elaborate a bit on this new face of psychology that you discovered while doing this course?
As a student of psychology, I had read a lot about the person centered approach, about existential themes, but how to bring that into practice, how you can connect to another person, uh, how that can be embodied as a therapist was something I learned over there because a lot of uh, foundations of expressive arts lie in a person centered approach. And the pioneers of expressive arts itself talk about how arts can help a person enter another, almost like enter another dimension and explore themes related to the self, themes that are existential in nature, as well as how what you just said about Sri Aurobindo talking about how art is a reflection of the artist itself. It's about the artist expressing themselves. So, in that way, expressive arts also focuses a lot on the process rather than the product. So, that is something that was also very new to me because in talk therapy, in the traditional approaches, we often think about healing as just a parameter, a place that a person needs to reach. If a client is coming in with a certain issue, a certain problem that they are going through, the focus is on, okay, now they are here right now, they need to be at the stage to be considered healed. But healing itself is such a subjective process. It's something so personal that there is no one parameter, there's no one benchmark to define healing. It's everybody's own unique journey.
You said that you learned how art can be used to connect with the other person. You mean the piece of art that the client creates, how it can help in the counselor and the client connecting, or what did you have in mind?
Absolutely. It can foster connections on many levels. It can foster a connection between the counselor as well as the client. And uh, it can also primarily begin a journey of finding connection within the self for the client. There are many aspects that our own body, our own senses are more aware of before we actually are able to put them into words. Uh, Things that we process on an emotional level, which would words would not do justice to it. That way, art, any form of art, would provide a non-verbal medium to first explore those feelings, to first go deeper within oneself.
Maybe art helps the client also achieve a connection or an integration of different parts of the being, himself or herself. That is the soul expressing itself through the piece of art, getting filtered through the mind, and then being expressed by the body. So, this may help the person achieve an integration or unification of the different parts of the being. And that could contribute a lot to the healing process, perhaps. As you said, I mean, healing is sometimes considered in the usual practice of psychology as something which will take care of the immediate issue with which the client has come. That is something like providing first aid. Whereas this type of unification that the client achieves would go beyond that. It would take care of not only the immediate issue with which the person has come, but also of the issues which may arise in future, and bring about a change in the person, the way the person lives and behaves and responds to changes in circumstances, etc. All that could perhaps happen, and when the person finds it difficult to cope with something, then turn to this art as an expression which will help the person cope with that situation in a very harmless way, self reliant way, and feel healed uh, because the person has gone through it once and learned the great potential that art holds. Would you like to
Absolutely.
comment on this?
Absolutely. And the underlying belief here is that everyone has an affinity towards art. It's not about skill, it's not about the ability to create an artistic product or perform, but the natural inclination that we all have towards art, how it can tap into personal aspects, how it can uh, even the forerunners of psychology like Carl Jung, they talk about concepts like active imagination, having a shared consciousness where we all share a collective unconscious, tapping into those elements, connecting with the self, connecting with the universe, connecting uh, with somebody who's like immediately in front of you, say a counselor who is a part of your healing journey.
So it's not really important that the client be an artist. In that sense, everybody is an artist. but it's not a performance that the client is trying to put up something which will be judged by some set criteria about what constitutes good art or art worth taking note of. It is just a self-expression. It's a way of expressing oneself, and uh, in fact, those rigid criteria don't apply. Again, Sri Aurobindo has emphasized this quite a bit, that if we go by some mentally defined criteria to assess art, Indian art may not fare too well, because that is not what the artist was trying to do. The artist was just trying to give an outer expression to the deepest self, and let that deepest self illumine in the mind, and then express what came out as a piece of art. And your course was on arts therapy, which means it went beyond one type of artistic expression. So normally we tend to think of art as a drawing or a painting or a sketch, but perhaps there were other forms of art also which you studied in the course. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes. So there were other art forms like music, like drama and dance movement that we worked with. So we expressive arts as a whole combines these different forms of art-based therapies, and the training that we get in those are basically tools and techniques from each of them that we can use in therapy spaces. And um, what sets expressive arts apart is how to use these modalities together, how to integrate them on the basis of the needs of the client, uh, what will support a person's meaning making process more. So as I said, the underlying benefit of expressive arts, or what you would say the philosophy of it, would be to work on the needs of the client. There are goals and there are objectives that we would set in any traditional therapy setting, but underlying that there is the meaning making process. And at some point of time, one art modality might support it better than the other.
Yes, very interesting, music and dance and so on.
Mhm.
I was just thinking that perhaps it brings out the child in us,
Mhm.
because as we grow up, we feel that my performance should have a certain level. Otherwise, I just have to keep it to myself. At the most, maybe I can be a bathroom singer, but
Mhm.
nobody should see me singing, and certainly not dancing, and things of that sort. We have an inhibition, but that inhibition is a result of the conditioning, where we feel that the performance is to be judged by some set criteria.
Mhm.
Whereas if you look at small children, you find that you place any hard surface in front, wooden surface in front of them, and they start tapping on it as if they are trying to play the tabla, not very conscious, but at the same time it sounds beautiful. And you play music, and the children start swinging uh, spontaneously, as if they are dancing. So the dance comes out as an immediate sort of accompaniment of the music. They can synchronize with that music. So it is all inherent in us, an ability that we lose, but then healing in a way helps us recover that child which is still within us, and along with that, perhaps also the simplicity and the purity of the child.
Mhm. Definitely. A great part of the process is working through these resistances that we develop while growing up, and how we sometimes forget that art has always been, in all of these forms, art has always been a part of human culture. Going back, singing, dancing, these are all a regular part of cultural expression, of community gatherings. But now we live in these urban spaces where we only see them happen during festivals. Uh, so it's also a lot about bringing out the inner child. It's also a lot about inducing play, bringing in play into these spaces. A lot of the drama therapy techniques focus on play.
So let's hope with more and more psychologists like you around, we'll all be able to discover the child within us and become more childlike, not childish, but childlike. And each day perhaps could acquire something of a festival. Each day could be a festival. Thank you, Asmita.
Thank you. Namaste.